let you know. I'll just give you the signal when you set the gate.
And we can discuss it. It's fine.
No, man. It's cash.
Cash, man.
We're in.
Okay, red light is green light is starting.
Green light means go.
Receiving your content.
Oh yes. Just so you know, I've got someone that wants to make us a jingle.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to make up a jingle.
Yes,
We're going to make up a jingle.
Yes.
A jingle and a flashy logo. Logo insert, yeah.
Find out. Cool.
Okay.
Guys, welcome to another HotBox podcast. It's going to be Lang Dan per usual. Tonight, I'm joined by Dan and Jules. And this evening, we're going to be doing a little bit of Seven Alarm type Skinner about what's been going on locally. But the meat of the show is going to be about technology, how technology is affecting the weed industry, and where we're seeing technology meet the needs within the weed industry.
Tech. Yeah, there's a lot of tech coming, Tech
So-
is forever there.
I think the big theme though is going to be Bitcoin, guys. Like, fuck, if you've got that friend who speaks to you about Bitcoin, they're like fucking Jehovah's Witnesses or vegans, they're right up on that list. Because everyone's like, yo, you should have bought what I told you a year ago, and admittedly, I should have listened to Dan. Or
Dan was there. I mean, we were all listening to Dan, but didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I wish
Well,
I listened to
look,
myself a bit more also.
Yeah, no, the Dhaka couple have got a stash of Bitcoin. We got some Bitcoin a while back, and we certainly got some more during the trial of the plant. And it's small, it's like 0.00s and zeros and stuff, but it's there, we're on the map. So, barcode, Bitcoin, we're there, please donate now.
And so, what is the deal with Bitcoin though? Because my first time I heard about Bitcoin, it was Silk Road. For those who don't know, a few years ago, there was the black net, Silk Road, go buy drugs, go buy little children, go buy whatever your fucking heart desires, basically. But what happened is, because this was all happening, I thought that they had developed their own currency. But I don't know, did Silk Road come first, or did Bitcoin come first?
Bitcoin is the creation of Satoshi Nakamoto, which is a pseudonym for some lady, they don't know who it is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Where a white paper was published about his system, and that system then was given a market cap of a certain amount of coins, and then that got started being distributed by mining and by buying it and earning it. So then, yeah, I lost the topic there. What about
Because Silk Road.
Silk Road, yes. So that's how it came, and then obviously, then people termed the Bitcoin as maybe the way to do illegal dealings in drugs and stuff, because it was not traceable, the way Bitcoin works, basically. So that's maybe then where Silk Road then was able to use Bitcoin, but I don't think Silk Road brought it. No.
Was it before?
No, yeah. Silk Road's dodgy. Bitcoin's not dodgy.
I was under the impression that Bitcoin was kind of worked hand in hand with a thing like Silk Road, because it is anonymous. Nobody knows who's who in the zoo. I remember the days of Silk Road first coming out. The reason I got interested in Silk Road was one day we got this, like, remember, years ago, we got this encrypted PGP message that's like on email, and now we don't know what to do with it. So there is a way of figuring it out. We asked the guy who built the petition for us, and he gave us 2 dongles, and I had to reboot the computer with these 2 dongles in, and then the PGP would say, hi, do you mind if we sell weed on Silk Road? And here's a picture, and there's pictures of the Dhaka Couple logo on Silk Road with pictures of Banana Kush and Christ knows what in Bitcoin.
Holy shit.
And that was 5 years ago, and we learned about Bitcoin Chop Chop because what these guys were doing is, on sales, they were putting portions of Bitcoin in a folder for us. And we had 2 Bitcoin then. We had 2 whole Bitcoins. They gave us 2 whole Bitcoins, but do you know what happened next? Fucking Silk Road went down, and we bailed out so quicker. Imagine logging in with the PGP trying to figure out where the next Bitcoin is. We didn't know these guys from a bar of soap, but they knew where my home was. They talked as if they'd been to my house before, so we kind of knew them somehow. And they said that they had a Raspberry Pi with a solar panel on Robin Island. And that's how they were doing it all, completely remotely, paranoid as fuck, getting money to us to fund the revolution. We never found out who they were, and the Bitcoin wallet, we don't know where it is or what it was, what number it was, or anything to do with it.
I was going to say, if you had
So
the wallet code, you would be
We don't know. We had no idea.
I mean, what's it hit today? 15,000.
Jesus, dude,
$1,000.
it was $300, I think, at the time or something.
But it's like digital treasure now. So much stumbles across that wallet.
Yeah, look, everyone's saying the same thing, but there's loads of there's loads of cyber currency that's up and coming. It's not just Bitcoin.
No, that's it.
You know, they've blazed the trail, and now you can buy an Apple Mac with the damn thing. You know, but
Bitcoin's gold. Bitcoin's the stuff that you should buy and hold on to for the next 10 years.
Right.
Then you got, like you're saying, your Ethereum, which would be like your silver, where it's the same thing. Get it and hold on, because Ethereum is essentially Bitcoin is the main contracts that are happening, the bigger contracts. Ethereum is the blockchain's currency. The blockchain runs the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Where the blockchain is what allows this anonymity and security to happen. And then off of that's going to come all the altcoins, which they call it, all the different coins. Your Litecoin, Zcoin, this coin, that coin.
If I can quickly, it's like having a 5 Rand coin, a 1 Rand coin, a 5 cent coin, and Bitcoin's the gold standard.
All like a different commodity. So you got your gold and your silver, and then you got your millies, your maize, your this, your that. All of that comes off the side, which has different values in different places. I mean, they're making coins now that are going to be servicing different industries. For instance, health insurance. If they could run all money through the health insurance through a certain coin called like the health coin, where you can use that to pay for all of your hospital bills and everything else, they would have a much more... Well, no one would have a control on it. It would just be more transparent because they wouldn't be a control.
Do you think legalisation will go that way, just to stay kind of off the main man's radar?
Well,
do you think we somebody has to start something somewhere? Really, just to keep it's kind of in our hands and not their hands somehow, that we remain in control of the underground market?
Well, that's the thing is, does it feel so underground now? Because
Jesus, no.
There was a time all you could do with the Bitcoin was buy drugs or a 2-year-old or something. But now,
or an ID in Alabama or something. Yeah,
you could buy like AK-40, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was all you could use it for, because you couldn't really
Fuck,
spend
I
it
miss
anywhere
Silk
else.
Road. I miss Silk Road.
And that was
because we used to
2 years?
cruise through it, looking at it, there's like a kilo of Thai white heroin, and it's just there. And there's a picture of the thing. And you Bitcoin this, we send it there, and you rate it. Fucking acid had TripAdvisor on it.
Trips advisor.
No, we showed it to a lawyer that we were friends with. He's passed away. He was a really good guy, and he was a benefactor of ours. He was a very wealthy man, and he's retired. He did give us some money here and there and fund our revolution a bit. And when we showed him the screen grab of our logo on Silk Road, he said, "What's Silk Road?" So he found out more about it than we did, the legalities, and it's completely legal. But I think he went peddling his way through there as well, got a gram of coke here and there or whatever it was, just to test it out. And it was the most amazing trading place. It gave adults exactly what they wanted, when they wanted, in the mail. And the disclaimer was, this has got nothing to do with us. You look after yourself and you do the thing, and we will make sure that the drugs are pure, and you put in the Bitcoin and everything's going to be cool. It was like utopia.
It was eBay for contraband.
It was just great, because you can't get by unless you've got a recommendation. And nobody's going to buy...
When did Silk Road go down? When did Silk Road go down?
Silk Road went down about 3 years ago the first time, came up again. But the last time I went in with the onion that I've got, with the URL that I've got, there's like the Fed's logo.
You're like,
So I really miss that, because I get attracted to subterfuge like that. I dig those places.
Well, I think that's also like because of weed being illegal, and it's like a counterculture, that I think people are often drawn to it. So I think we're seeing things now, like you're saying, Potcoin and sort of weed orientated things.
They're trying to. It seems like in America they're trying to, because it's the banks won't touch any money from any dispensaries or anything that has to do with cannabis. So now they all have to deal with cash, and it's very risky for them. It's super risky. Imagine having hundreds of thousands of dollars on your property. It's very risky. So now what they're trying to do is they've made coins like Potcoin, like you said, Dopecoin, Budcoin.
There is a Cannacoin.
And these coins are then made to represent currency that they can then use safely in the industry in order to
move money.
Be able to buy and sell with not having to have that amount of cash on site or whatever it might be. So, in a way, I see it as a good thing.
So do I. I embrace it. I think it's because I'm not good at banks. I never have been. They're just not good places for me. And if I can sit on a computer and manipulate finances just by clicking things here and there, it's fine.
I mean, you've got that graph now that says hotels that Airbnb. That's the hotel without any actual hotels. Uber without any rooms. So Uber's the biggest taxi company without any cars. Well, Bitcoin's the biggest bank without any banks. It's the biggest. So it's going to happen. No one's going to stop it. It's going to. If this doesn't.
How do you start it? Do you need loads and loads of money?
What, Bitcoin?
No, if we decided through, say, Fields of Green for All and have a Zol coin. See, Zol coin,
Yeah,
Wheat
so you
coin,
can. We'll wait for the tech expert.
coin.
He might be able to tell us how.
To the viewers at home, we are actually waiting for our guest to pull in. We have got a guest coming. He's going to be to get traffic and stuff. So I'm sure it'll be just.
But it is possible. I mean, I remember when this whole thing came to light, and I was looking into it. I looked into making a coin, and you read a lot of text. And you've got to have a Linux system, or I'm sure you can do it with Windows, but you put a whole lot of code into your terminal and you literally start a coin. And you create a coin, and then that's it.
I don't get that bit. You see, you just create a coin. Like, do you have a ceiling on it? There's only so many Bitcoin.
There would be a certain ceiling within.
Bitcoin's only got X amount of
There's
millions.
a cap. Exactly, there's a cap.
Because it wouldn't work otherwise.
Exactly. There has to be some sort of rarity or some sort of want for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
there has to be a supply
this
and
jelly
demand
bean
thing.
can be rare now. These can become rare because people want them. We can make anything rare just because you can't.
Otherwise, it's a Zim dollar if there's no cap.
But
Zimbabwe's just started using Bitcoin because they have no other way except for they're accepting Bitcoin on the streets. The street vendors accept Bitcoin. It's becoming a thing there, and it might just make the country come out of the ruins because they'll be able to have some sort of currency that means something.
You know what the people are going to need to run it is cheap data. They can't do it without
anywhere
data.
out of this country, data is better than what we pay.
Yeah, did you check that?
Are you serious?
In fact, you checked that on the Twitter feed yesterday. There's a guy and he's taking a photograph, filling up his bakkie in Maziru in Lesotho, and we sell petrol to Lesotho, and it's £4 cheaper at the pump in Maziru. Fuck! It drives me mad. Yes, this were being denied. We had just been blatantly shafted everywhere. Imagine they're pulling in £4 a litre more than our next door neighbours that we sell it for. Sell it to. Jesus, I don't know. We're doomed. Isn't it gone up again? Diesel's just gone up.
Prices gone up.
Sugar rush.
Prices gone up. Yes.
Huh? Yeah.
Prices of petrol gone up.
Do you think we're going to get to a point though with Bitcoin, like on the midday report, where they say it's 10 Rand to the dollar?
I was thinking today. I was driving in the car
now.
and I just heard. I thought that dollar price. Rand price, euro price, gold price, silver price, and I'm waiting for them to say Bitcoin price.
Yeah, the dollar will be slave to the Bitcoin in the end.
Could you imagine Jacob Zuma trying to say the Bitcoin price? Because it's a wrong number.
No, already it's way too big for even him to handle.
That's
220,000 Rand a Bitcoin.
What?
220,000 Rand a Bitcoin.
Oh Christ! It's God, how depressing.
And what did a Bitcoin cost like in the old day? Like if we were to get into this like 3 years ago?
Yeah, no,
3 years ago. Can I just pass that up there? I mean that table there. Tablet.
Tablet.
It was a separate window. Oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry. All good. I'll get it here. I can put it up here.
Yeah, there's the Bitcoin
there
we
it
were
is.
looking for before.
So, 3 years ago, we were looking at...
Jesus, that's really tasty shatter, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's really lekker. That's the... Yeah.
There they are.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that when you're ready, Dan. It's very tasty and clean.
3 years ago, it was around $208 a Bitcoin.
So what would that be?
Okay, well, that's round about
$2,000,
Silk
$3,000.
Road time.
Yeah.
2013 or so, Silk Road time. I wonder what happened to those O's and whether they'll ever come up to me one day and say, Brew, remember the time that we were...
It's like the Kruger Rands, dude.
It was really funny. We've got screen grabs of Silk Road with our weed on it. Well, not our weed, with weed on it, our logo on it. Pretty damn hectic. I don't know.
So let's get into a little bit of Skinner, guys.
Skinner,
this week's Skinner. I think let's kick things off with Dion Wood. For you guys who don't know, from what I understand, I've never met the guy. From what I see, he's active in Swaziland, maybe in Lesotho. He seems to be an activist. He seems to be doing his thing.
Yeah, no.
I don't see him joining dots with anyone or holding hands with anyone, but he came out this week and said some pretty fucked up shit, eh?
The way Dion's been around for, I don't know, 2-3 years, and he seems to be doing some pretty good stuff in Swaziland.
Yeah, finding traction.
And networking and releasing documents and keeping us abreast of what is happening in Swaziland and stuff. I don't know from bar soap either, but I know he comes to Joburg and does seminars here and there, so he's used to public speaking and he's used to people listening to his opinion, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think just so you are all aware, I'm going to try and make an effort with this to read out these sort of things. But basically, it kicked off. It made a ripple in the local pond. He posted this post on Facebook. He had a Facebook where everything. So he titled it "Dagga Abuse." Using Dagga for recreational stimulation and pleasure requires small doses infrequently only. All that is needed for the perfect high is a few puffs of a spliff, which will leave you in a perfect high all day, all night long. Smoking bongs and pipes is not only an awful experience and a brutal intoxication, but it is also dacha abuse. Smoking all day, every day means that you are a drug addict and you are abusing dacha and yourself. Dion Wood.
Oh, well.
Well, I just want to say, like, you know, he has no idea or way of telling anyone how much they need to smoke in order for them to either be medicated or relaxed or whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah, or just not giving a shit and sticking it to the man or sticking it to your parents or whatever it is. But it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to any of us how much weed anybody in the world smokes. That's their endowment.
Yeah.
That's entirely up to you, your metabolism, your intentionality. And I think he's a sanctimonious twat for saying that.
I think also he set the bar very low. Like, don't get me wrong, I know there's abuse. There's days when I also just want to spend the whole day, but I don't.
But he does sometimes. We all do. It's healthy.
Sorry, not sorry. But anyway, Dion's comment for me, I can get there's abuse. But when he says that the moment you smoke a pipe or a bong, not 5 bongs, whatever, the moment you smoke a pipe or a bong, that's abuse. I'm not sure I can agree with that.
Well, neither will a modern day doctor. I don't know where that's where he's coming from. You know, there's the whole thing about a doctor will not dish out anything to anyone that you got to smoke. They don't see the use of smoke being beneficial in any way. But tell that to someone who's got Crohn's or lupus or Gehrig's or something, or they need to smoke it. They need instantaneous relief, and the only way you're going to do it is by smoking. So the upside of that is you don't lose the contents of your stomach again, but the downside is you open yourself to some sort of bronchial cack later that is not worth being jailed for.
And Dan, I know you're quite the bong man. You think like 1 is abuse, eh? Because I'm sure on a good day you could put 5 back and still be like...
CBD creams and smoke all day.
Of course. I mean, if you... I guess it brings your tolerance quite high to take such a big hit. But then again, you might have a high tolerance. Some guys can drink a shot of tequila and be pissed. Some guys can't.
My tolerance is total now.
When I was working, for instance, I was working at a club. I used to run a club in Johannesburg. And I used to drink shooters all night long without fail. I'd be drinking them till 4 o'clock in the morning and not be pissed out of mind. I'd still run the club and make sure everything was done right because my tolerance was just... It went right up, and I would never drink long drinks because I just had to drink shooters because it was the only way. So what now? Because I drink shooters,
you're an addict or you got a problem.
I've got a problem because that's or I don't like a long. Maybe you don't want to have a joint. Maybe you don't feel like smoking a joint. That's too. It takes 5-10 minutes to smoke a joint.
Yeah.
You want to have a bong and you want to get on with whatever you're doing. You don't want to sit around and flip
man.
mull around a joint.
Also,
some people
it's
are
hard to smoke
impatient.
the joint when you're jamming the gate.
Exactly, or building or flipping aeroplane.
But I've seen things to put your cigarettes on Xbox controllers.
Still got it.
Yeah, I checked the ring.
Rings with a holder on and stuff. Stoners are going to get round of all. I think a few months ago, Dion raised his ugly head the first time by tuning the same thing at Judah Square. And he saw a bunch of Rastafarian, what he said, Rastafarian youth that are just wasting their life by being blazed all the time. But if you woke up in Judah Square as a Rasta knowing that this is going to be another day that you're still not going to have a job and you're not going to have an opportunity and you're not going to get any credit and you're not going to be able to break out, you might as well have a pipe because it's just going to take the edge off. And who is he to say anything about it?
But then also, where's the line where then it becomes abuse? For me, that's always like
when you're ripping a bong just prior to getting the kids to school on a Tuesday.
Abuse of what though?
Abuse of
if you have
what?
sugar.
Abuse of your lungs.
Every single day, someone has 2 teaspoons of sugar. God forbid they've just had 2 teaspoons of sugar, or they have 2 cups of coffee. There, they've had their psychoactive for the day. They are taking a psychoactive literally. Essentially, they are right. Sugar does the same thing.
Sugar.
So we are all essentially every single person that has a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or energy drink or whatever it is enjoys the feeling of a psychoactive. You might not be...
That's why you're doing it.
Well, there we go. But you're doing it without knowing. You think, it's not actually as bad as, say, mushrooms or whatever it is, but you on a smaller scale. It actually...
Well, it's a dose-dependent thing.
Exactly.
Totally dose-dependent.
The whole nation is literally on psychoactives without even knowing of it.
Yeah, no, they're buzzing away on something for
we're
sure.
all addicts, all of us. Everyone's an
To
addict.
something. And the way I see it is, if you have a tolerance break, then who's to say what is too much or too little? If you lay off, and we spoke about this the other day, you're asleep for a third of your life.
Yes.
8 hours a day or 8 hours at night you're sleeping. I reckon that's a pretty big tolerance break.
Decent tolerance break.
Even full on, you could only smoke for 2/3 of your life. The other third, you're asleep. So it's tolerance.
Decent
tolerance break.
I agree.
Some people think a tolerance break is the time it takes them to clean a bomb. They'd be true. Yeah, that's completely.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I think it sort of wrapped itself up. I don't know if he's going to get more reaction out of it. If he went out there, he was like, okay, because he got a lot of flack about it.
He got loads of flack, and he got more flack than he actually should have, because it raised it got him more publicity, kind of thing. It's this double-edged sword. And then he said, "Well, come and debate me," but I don't think it's about that either.
If I can, he didn't say come and debate me. He said, come and debate me. Bring your 200 rands, put them in the hat, winner takes all.
Yeah.
So for me, that's like, we all have our comments, we all say those things, but for me, then you're putting ego first, and that's what really grinds my fucking cheese.
Okay.
Because then you get these hacktivists and faketivists and all this shit, because then it's about you, and you're just using the plant as a platform for your ego.
Oh yeah, I know there's a bunch of that goes on, I guess. Yeah, it was definitely getting quite rude in there at times. People took a major affront to it, but people slip up all the time. I saw another comment the other day about saying, we got to get this stuff into dispensaries and get rid of the street dealer. And we said, what are you talking about? The street dealer is an integral part of legalisation as well. If it's not legal for that guy to deal on the street, then it's not legal.
It's not legal then.
It's just not legal. You're making a criminal out of him. So I don't get that. Just let people do what they do. You can't be judgmental about it. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel there's a lot of that going around, and I'm going to go here. Bit of a sensitive one. It's a bit close to home plus. But I'm going to start this with the preamble. I know Rian quite well, Rian van der Merwe. And the one thing I've always respected most about this guy is he tunes it as it is. And you can sit down and smoke a guai or a joint with him afterwards, and it's all cool. But I've always respected that he's such a straight shooter. And this week he went to a postal on the oak, and I get where he's coming from, because just like there's oaks ripping off people with oil and seeds, and I'm not going to say this oak is ripping off people, but there seems to be a lot of that going around locally at the moment, where we're seeing seed companies now. So you can get ripped off with weed, you can get ripped off with oil, now you can get ripped off with seeds, guys. And basically what's happening is seeds are fucking easy to get a hold of, they're cheap, you can get half decent genetics by the bucket load.
There's tons of them online, I can't believe it. Yeah.
And oaks are basically bringing in average at best sort of products, rebranding it or whatever, and then selling it on. Completely. And it's a lot of heartache, because you get some bum weed, it's shit weed, you don't go back. It's going to take you 3 to 6 months to realize the seeds you bought are shit seeds potentially. So Rian unloaded on this oak, and I think the way he said it didn't help the message. But
yeah, but you get used to the way Rian says it. He's only going to say it his way, but it's rude. I mean, it fucking cuts to the bone. You don't have to say, what do you mean?
Yeah.
There's no misunderstanding in there. There's no misunderstanding.
It's like a headshot. It's like a comment headshot.
Oh, I missed all of this. I'm quite good at walking away from all of these little things. I've got other things. We've got much bigger fish to fry, as people say. There's still loads of legal stuff whizzing around the background of our lives. So it's good to catch up with you two to find out what is going on. And even with legalisation and the fact that there'll be some place on the high street with a registered seed, what that you can buy from, there's people still going to buy them online, and they'll find out in 3 months' time that it was an auto and it's suddenly going to get this big or something, etc., etc. I was given a chunk of weed this week that was $240 a gram on the street in Joburg.
Joburg, not
up in Cape Town.
No, this is Joburg, and it's some very, very clever foreigners.
Okay, some indoor, I'm sure.
Seriously indoor,
okay.
Face melting stuff, and I was absolutely shocked to hear the price. It's absolutely ludicrous, because you know, as a banky goes, that's like $250,000 for a fucking kilogram. It's a house, a BMW. It's just crazy that it could possibly be that much. Quite an expensive smoke. I couldn't smoke it all day, but it was cool to have somebody else's weed for a while. And absolutely immaculate bud. You could throw it around. You could throw it over there, nothing would fall off. It just
It bounce back at you.
Yeah.
You hear it go dum.
So there's no way you can get what you pay for. There's no way. I don't think there's no way. It's just crazy.
Well,
It's that price.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe
You know,
my
like-
imagination. I don't think it lasted all that long. Certainly got me.
let's try and do the math. I mean, it's hard to do the math on how you could charge that much. Just out of
It's
curiosity.
30% THC.
It's what people are prepared to pay.
It's 30% THC, and it's
Well, 30% claimed.
30% claimed, and etc.
So yeah.
What?
You see how it
Oh,
goes.
okay. So what we did it come to a head, as it were?
So this oak, so the oak he was after, I'm just going to say it, it was mushy goat seeds or something. I don't know enough about these oaks to say yay or nay, but the oak took it really personally from what I saw, and he sort of was like, fuck this shit, I'm going to just bail out of the industry, tail between my legs. And I'm going to be honest, you've got to have a thick skin to make it in this game, guys. You've got to have a thick skin. So it would be sad if the oak is legit. But I don't know, if you were legit, would you just walk away from it so easily, hey?
Well, if you get Facebook's pretty harsh, eh? I think when you get smashed on Facebook like that, you kind of sit back. Oh,
You
man,
can
it's-
expect to be smashed for behaviour like that, though.
Yeah, as
You
well.
know what I mean? So it's like you get yourself a cup of coffee and you roll your sleeves up and you sit down and you just go and troll the fuck out of it.
Yes, that's the-
And you just have a bit of sport, you know, you just want to get out of your system. And there's folk like that around. Myrtle and I have had to walk away.
Sorry, guys. Let me go and
It's a
find
right hand side one.
the right.
For the bottom.
And I think also, if you think about the economies of scale, you know, oil's pricey, weed's pricey, but you're saying those oaks are paying $2.40 a gram for that
Yeah.
indoor. If you look at seeds, how many seeds do you think there are in a gram? If you were to hold a gram of Dhaka pips in your
There's
20 seeds,
55,000 in a kilo.
55,000 in a
So
kilo,
there's 5.5 in a gram.
5.5 in a gram.
No, is that right? Sorry, have I got the decimal place in the right?
Fuck, I don't know. It's like
55,000 in a kilo.
So there's
55,000.
55 in a gram.
There's 55 in a gram. So
55 in a gram.
Right.
And these, what you go, so if you go to go buy an A grade seed, from what I understand, you're going to pay $200 to $300 for an A grade. For a triple A, a little bit more. But for what I'm seeing from these sort of intermediate brands that are coming and going, it's about 100 Rand a seed. So
Yeah, that's what I see.
effectively, it's 500 to 600 Rand for a gram of seeds.
Yeah, no, and they don't smell and they're easy to transport, and it's always been the moneymaker has been seed.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that $240 a gram, the reason I tell you this is because they do not use anything than first gen seed, and they don't feminize it. Nothing. They want to see the seed. They don't deal with feminized seed. They don't deal with autos. Nothing. They use a pure seed and they pick out the males bit by bit. They do not trust autos. They hermaphrodite. They do all sorts of strange stuff. They don't have a yield. And those guys, it's actually girls. It's girls.
Girls?
It's
Oh.
girls. It's girls from the Middle East.
No way!
Yes, it is. Yeah, no,
In
no.
burkas? No, dude.
Not that middle, not quite. Not
Okay.
quite that fundamental, no, but close by. Fucking Burqa Kush.
It's imagine, dude. What's in that Quran Kush? I like
Ow, cut that bit out. No, don't go there. Jesus. I mean, don't even go there.
Yeah, no, dude. It was hilarious, though. But also, you sent me something interesting this week. We're going to go across the pond quickly. So, there's conservative guys in Canada, from what I understand, conservative politicians. And they've been
Yeah.
saying some pretty atrocious shit.
They are the opposition, basically, to the Liberals rolling out legalisation.
And from what I understand, let's get this out the way before I go into reading this boring bit. What is fentanyl? Do you know what fentanyl
Yeah,
is?
fentanyl's an opioid. It's like oxycodone.
Okay.
It's another prescription drug. It's about 30 times more hectic than the next one. It's invented by one man
Yeah.
as an operation, and people dying of it on the street in Canada specifically at the moment because it's so cheap to make they're chopping it into heroin on the street, and you start doing a line of fentanyl you'll just have an embolism, you're dead. And people are dying, yeah?
Just coming.
Cool. So fentanyl I learnt about in Montreal this year when Myrtle and I went to the harm reduction.
Yeah.
I'd seen the word, and I didn't even heard it spoken, fentanyl. And it's an absolute epidemic of evilness, and people are dropping like flies, and the people who own it are the people that put the most money into anti-cannabis propaganda to keep their status quo. Pardon?
What's it used for?
Pain reduction.
Pain reduction.
But
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl's another oxycodone, but more hectic. Flakka is the same kind of thing. This street Flakka.
We still got to go score a game of Flakka and do it live.
You know what, Flakka, you can't. There is no reports of anybody using Flakka. There's no reports of anybody in a hospital. There's no reports of any misdemeanor on Flakka anywhere in the country. Go check it out.
News.
Well, what I heard is that it's basically like those that are doing their tick and their crack
It's
and
the same
whatever.
thing.
It's just that they're just literally they're so exhausted that they're just literally completely.
Well, Flakka is still. It's just that bit more concentrated. It is a very dangerous drug, but it's tick, for use of a better word. It's a cathinone. Methcathinone.
Yeah.
It's a cathinone. It's an analogue. It's staying one stage ahead of the game, of trying to keep it legal. But sure, fentanyl. So the Conservatives in Canada, this guy.
So this dude's name is Mr. Peter Kent, Mr. Peter Kent.
MP, Conservative MP in Ontario.
Yeah. So he apparently stood up in the House to compare homegrown cannabis with deadly synthetic opioid fentanyl. So let's quote from this oak. He said, when it's legal, despite the allowable age to consume, and this is in Canada, so they've got going through their rules and strict regulation now, kids are going to harvest leaves. Kids are going to experiment. I think that what we're doing is virtually the same as putting fentanyl on a shelf within reach of kids. Having plants in the homes is just as wacky. It's just as unacceptable and just as dangerous. And then some other chick followed up, and she had pretty outrageous things too. This brings back memories of the Dacha Pips
34
in the Zambak.
Yeah, no, this chick.
Yeah, and then she tunes, Mr. Speaker, we have already established that this legalization will put marijuana in the hands of children. Not just with the 15 joints that 12-year-olds can have. I don't know who said that's going to happen.
Totally spurious off the top of her head, yeah.
But with the 4 plants per household. So little Johnny can put some in the toaster oven and smoke it up.
Yeah, this 15 joints is personal consumption. It's like it's 20 grams or something, or an ounce or whatever, and she's got it in her head that would make 15 joints. So it's alive and well. The Conservatives are trying to scare the shit out of the population because on the 1st of July next year, it will be legalised to everybody over the 18 or somewhere 19. And I'm watching it, I was watching it live today unfold. I'm really interested in Canada because it's the same legal system as we use UK law, so do they. It's not an American thing. It's exactly the same courthouse and the procedures. So it's really interesting to see the parallels. But at the moment, they're embroiled in Ontario wanting to have a complete monopoly on the plant. And they're even talking about in the future coding it genetically. So if you get caught with weed and it's not theirs, you go down, because you're not using their weed. So they're embroiled in this monopoly whole thing at the moment. But to the average person on the street, it's going to be absolutely amazing. The first G8 country in the world is legalising weed, and you can go over there, and if you're just a casual user, it's going to be amazing. But if you want to get into the cannabis business you've been in all your life, they're going to try and stop you at every juncture, just like here. They're trying the same thing. We talked about the MCC at length last week, and the way they want to crunch it. If you got THC in your blood, maybe they'll waiver it because if you've done serious crime or something, you wouldn't get a license. But I don't see how they could stop someone with THC in their bloodstream from getting a license. But anyway, all of that's got to be tested in court and Christ knows.
It's all about fighting for market share. We're going to see it everywhere because this isn't like a really long established industry that happened organically and grew into this world of corporate as we know it and big business as we know it. This is something now that's emerging straight into that. So
Yeah, look, the more we wait and see, the more precedents there are, and the easier it gets to be able to make a decision on how legalisation rolls out here. But in the Yukon there, you can grow as many, a dozen plants, and there's dispensaries everywhere, and you go next door, the next part of the Federation, and they've got it 19 years old, but you can't grow your own. And so the more conservative the town that you're in, the more hectic the rules will become. Yeah. And when you get to the east side of the whole country to Ontario, Jesus, it's just like it's conservative city.
Yeah, well, that's what I was picking up in the tones of this thing as well with these Canadian conservative politicians, and that is they're reading from really Old Testament shit in my mind. They're looking at like 1950s, 1960s sort of policy in the US and Africa, because they're now saying it's the swart kafar, it's the green kafar, it's communist related.
They're making people fearful, so they control the shit out of it, and control the shit out of it, and control the shit out of it, and control the shit out of it. That's what they're doing. And they're doing a pretty good job so far. But let's see. I mean, the Emery's and co. and all of the activists on the ground they're in Parliament now. They're making sure that the politicians are taken to task. So I guess we could see that's the next phase of the challenge of the trial of the plant, is making sure we get some sort of legalisation that we want.
Yeah.
Because you can't wait for the perfect legalisation. It's going to happen, and you're going to iron it out as you go along over decades, even generations, as it all normalises itself. And everyone's saying, no, there's too many rules. Let's not legalise it now. Let's wait until we get the perfect legislation. Fuck that.
Fuck that.
Stop putting people in jail. Get some dispensaries out there so the people who are sick can get the weed that they need.
Let business slug it out on their own.
So, I wish they'd just expedite it and cut to the chase now. In fact, we're still embroiled in so many cases of law and stuff, and the fucking High Court and the Supreme Court and stuff. You remember the live stream hole in Darwin?
Yeah.
We're still embroiled in the whole live stream thing. The argument about the state not allowing Fields of Green to live stream, but we got it through the SABC, and it's out forever for all to see. Yeah. It's had tons of views on our YouTube channel. It's a lot of traffic through it. Yeah. David Nutt specifically, the days of David Nutt.
That was some riveting stuff. It was good to watch.
Yeah, I looked Cannabis News Network in Amsterdam. They took it and they've chopped it up and tweeted it around the place, because it was the first time it's ever happened. So now we cross our fingers that we hope it doesn't have to happen again. And the Constitution go, stop that shit already. Stop putting people in jail. In fact, all the people who are in jail, get them the fuck out of there. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be cool.
Oh, that's utopia.
Yes.
Anyway,
I digress. Something that also made a bit of a ripple. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but because we've spoken about this a lot. But basically, there's the grow facility in Dube in the agri zone, and Jason Moore made a bit of a splash with a comment that
was that comment out in the open?
Yeah, that was out in the open.
Okay.
And basically, from what I understand now, to paraphrase, the Dube grow is a write-off. And Dan, you're the grow man in my mind. You understand this better than anyone I know. If you were to, from an outside perspective, looking at that thing, and everyone's claim to fame here is that the humidity is the issue. Looking at that grow facility, do you think that's a weed-friendly situation to grow in? Is it or just doomed to fail?
Look, I can't say I haven't been there, but when you look at it, it's a big glass house in KwaZulu-Natal, which is notoriously humid. So unless they did their due diligence and spent millions on dehumidification and air exchange in that facility, I mean, I'm not an expert at greenhouse builds whatsoever, but I mean, I would expect that it should work, but
I think it's almost double glazed.
Well, the thing is,
for the Northern European market,
cannabis needs the dark period, right? So it needs to have your
big time.
You need to have your darkening of the tunnels. So those tunnels were definitely not, or light deprivation is called. They were definitely not designed for cannabis. Definitely not. Definitely 100% not. They were just grown as a generic tunnel to grow something in.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
The lights are too high up. Everything's just too
glass
big.
And it's huge.
So you'll never make it pitch black.
Well, it'll cost them.
Yeah, it's...
rather give it back to the flower growers that need it and just let them grow, or orchids or whatever that it will be.
But it's only a bunch of scellums want Dubé, though, isn't it? And the Scallions also give them Dubai. I think let them all at least know where they are.
Yeah, plain sight.
It doesn't seem to me that Dubai's working very well because it's just expensive. And the scale of economies is if you've got expensive weed, you're not going to sell it because everyone's going to go for cheaper.
Well, that's it. The cost to grow it in that facility is absolute. It's not designed for.
That's kind of why the Canadians and Co are here. They want our sunshine. They want sunshine valleys of the shit.
Well, that's it. Let the people grow in the valleys, and we can have it just everywhere.
More utopia,
exactly.
Communism. It mustn't be nationalized. It must be compulsory, dude. No. So something that was also very interesting, though. This for me was a fun one. I think it's going to be sort of a high note for us. Is I'd never heard of this before, but there's something called THC.
It's like the orgasm of THC. The big O.
Or is it somebody who uses THC?
A THCO.
I got an O. I got an
O who does THC.
But basically now this article says, and it seems like it's true from everything that I can see, is that so you can make hash, or you can make dab, or you can make CO2 or whatever, but you can take it to another level.
How, bro? How?
I know, because this is what's blowing my fucking mind.
How?
Is they're saying that you can make, basically you can make a product that is 300% stronger.
Than what?
Well, from what I get, they're isolating it more.
Yeah.
They're just going deeper.
So
they
now,
found just the right chemical that will pull it to that nth degree. There we go. The nth degree that'll just
full winterizing. It's
yeah, of course you have to go through all the processes, but then it's where maybe it takes off one more layer off of that THC molecule, CBD molecule that allows it to bind with your receptors much better.
It must be what you're extracting with. It must be pretty harsh extraction.
Well, I mean, harsh is in I guess it's chemicals that you need
so
to have
control. What are we extracting in? Just the THC to get fucked up.
Just the THC, because
so I'm thinking no CBD, no other cannabinoids.
THCO acetate, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is called THC acetate ester. THCO acetate. Yes, I'm saying that too much.
THCO acetate.
So basically, Wikipedia tunes. It is the acetate ester of THC.
Ester is?
I think
it's
acetate.
A salt.
Yeah, it's a salt alkaline sort of acid.
A mineral of.
It acts as a metabolic prodrug for THC itself. So, like you're saying, it's more enabled and chemically works the same way that heroin does as a metabolic prodrug for morphine.
So
it's specifics, really specific. It's that.
You know, when I see pictures of the white crystals online on Instagram of like THC crystals.
Yes.
They say this is beyond that.
Beyond that, well,
They say like there's only one or two people who've really written about making this. The cops have only bust one person in America in like the last 10 years for making this, because this is
sounds
not an
like
easy
51st
thing.
No, I don't think this is an easy thing to do.
No, this is beyond. But also in my mind, what's really fucking with my mind is that so we know that you can get 99.9% THC crystal like you're referring to, but they're saying this will be much stronger. So effectively, you can buy something that is 420% THC.
420%. I reckon
That's what they say.
20% THC.
Yeah, because you take 100% THC, so you're now making something that's 4 times stronger.
So it's like doing an extraction of any plant, and you can do it again and again and concentrate it more and more and more.
Yeah.
Like a salvia, 10 times, 20 times, 40 times.
But it's made with some serious stuff.
Yeah, look, it's some really cool equipment to do it. This is not just a bit of alchemy here. I reckon this is like pharmaceutical stuff.
Yeah, not even
but I'm game, man. Let's hoist someone a nail. Have you got some? Is that the whole point of this? You managed to find some.
Like, how much do you think it would cost a gram?
I don't know, at the ball breakers at Banbury Cross or something.
Yeah, we'll definitely find it there.
You can find it there. Fucking Hewlett sugar. Yeah, I've had a blast of that. It's really tasty. Do you have some?
No, I haven't tasted it.
No, that's from last weekend. That's been in the oven a week now.
And what we're dealing with here? What strain?
So Iron Snow. So and it's shake from long ago. We
should get it really close to the mic and you can hear it crack when you.
Oh, the taste.
Because you can hear it cracking.
Yeah.
Glass, guys. Glass, eh?
Very nice, huh? You want some more? Yeah, no, hi there. It's very thin. There you go. There you got it. Yeah. Please do not try this at home, because this is just, apparently this is abuse now, mate. The joint that I had 12 hours ago with my coffee, that should have been enough for me for the day. Because anything else is abuse. Yeah. But
I've never known a strain.
I would like to disagree with that, Matt.
That math doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up to me. And what if you're smoking CBD all day? So where is the moral judgment? Is it the being high? Or is it smoking? What if I'm smoking CBD hemp out of one of those vapes we had last week? There's no THC and I'm not going to get high, but I'm still going to sit around all day because I feel like doing that today. Is there a difference? Am I addicted or abusing anything there? Is the abuse something to do with the mind alteration? And it's another fucking moral judgment.
Or is maybe saying that like you're harming your body? So it's that vegan argument that meat is harming your body.
Yeah, but if you have if you have burgers all day, go past McDonald's in the morning, have McDonald's in the morning, have it for lunch, have it for dinner.
Fucking
addict.
Supersize me, yeah, bring it on, hash browns.
So,
oh my god.
Jules, you sent me an interesting weekend, and we keep going back to Canada. There seems to be so much going on.
I do apologise, but all the news is in Canada at the moment. I can't help where the news is, but I'm looking at it closely because it's much different to America, because now this is in the courts. This is interesting because it's in the courts, just like us. You know, snaky fucking politicians is because it's in the courts. So at least it's cool. It's live now. You go check it on I don't know, if you pick up Jodie Emery's Twitter feed now, it will be live on there somewhere. Cause
any of the activists in Canada will be pushing it, I'm sure.
No, it's important stuff.
Yeah.
It's fucking archaic though. A 90-year-old law in Canada prohibits wine crossing federal borders. There's like, it monopolises within, and so the taxes they get are for them, and they can't be taxed anywhere. I don't know, it's really complex at a Supreme Court level.
Never work in this
But place. Because the Ontarians want it to be basically a state monopoly on the rollout of weed, legalisation, then Cannabis Culture and Mark Emery there now today with representation to tune the legislature that this is about to happen for weed as well, which is just a brilliant way of getting it to the highest court of the land.
Yeah.
Right from the outset. So they may save it, and they would be fucking superheroes for doing so, because it can't be that bloody cheap to get to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's
but I feel it's going to be one of those things where people are only going to pay attention when the headlines are now made.
Yeah, no, there'll be some clickbait a bit later on, but at my level, doing activism the way we do in the law and everything else, we just find it really, really interesting, because it's the way our lives are at the moment. I can't believe I do find all this bullshit interesting. I do.
Who else is going to talk about it on a Thursday night to all you lovely folk out there? So I hope you find it interesting too.
Drug policy porn.
Yeah, dude. So something interesting happened there in Canada. So this looks like it was a joint venture between like a pro-drug and like a government organisation or something, but the site's called Beleave, so B-E and leave, like when your dad leaves your mom and never comes back. Beleave.com. And what they've introduced are consequence strains.
Oh yeah! Oh god!
So at first glance, it looks like, ooh, new strains, eh? And what they've done is they've named these 3 strains, but once you start paying attention, you see it's a bit weird. The first one's called Courtroom Kush.
Courtroom Kush with a K, yeah. Courtroom Kush.
A relative newcomer to the scene, Courtroom Kush is an emotional joyride that doesn't end well. This first-time offender conjures up feelings of regret, shame, and guilt. The same emotions as someone who has just been charged with impaired driving. If you don't want these consequences, don't drive high.
And I might point out, there's a video for every one of them, and it's a very, very high-end production paid for by the government.
Spent a lot of money on it, so.
Kush with a K.
Yeah. Next we have White Whiplash. It's a hybrid. White Whiplash starts mellow, then hits you hard. This bitter bud has been known to strike the perfect balance of misery and devastation. A similar outcome to someone suffering from the pain of an auto accident injury. If you don't want these consequences, don't drive high. This sounds like something, like Pick and Pay as Arrive Alive. This is like this, isn't it?
But it's fear mongering, etc. Isn't there a third one?
Yeah, let's
Well,
let's do the
remember
third one.
what the third one is? But the thing is,
The sativa.
This is about legalization. This is the punitive sanctions and the consequences of legalization on society. This is what they're drumming into people's heads. They cannot believe that we've been driving around for hundreds of years smoking weed. Hundreds of years? Strike that off the roll, Your Honour. That dab extended time and space and most of the maths.
So the last one on the list is we've got to do.
What is this one?
Do. Slammer time. This one's called Slammer time. It's a sativa. Slammer time packs a potent punch, often inducing feelings of remorse, paranoia, and isolation from the outside world. The same feelings as someone who's been sentenced to life in prison for killing another driver or pedestrian.
You check this.
So I can get the road safety thing, and in my mind it's clever. They've done it clever, but I don't know what I feel about it. Is it good? Is it bad? I always feel like we should be responsible and convey that
they're trying to sell strains.
No.
What they're doing is making another form of prohibition and calling it legalization. These are serious sanctions that don't exist now because there's only one rule to break, that's illegal. But there's no DUI. There will be with legalization, but they won't be able to prove impairment, as we all know. So all of this has got to go through the courts again, and the only people that get rich are the legal teams that fucking navigate through all of this shit in the end. This is hardcore. They're going to go for it. They're going to try to. I mean, it's 14 years for selling to a minor. It's 500 Canadian dollars to sell liquor to a minor. 14 years for weed.
How long is it for fucking a minor? Probably only a couple of years.
We'll have to find that out. What about fucking a stone miner?
Oh.
Yes, as you see it going fucking the rabbit hole. So we just don't know how it's going to play out.
You must have a particular type of fetish though, to only want to fuck stoned little kids. Eh?
Yeah, but that's they'll probably say that's a liberal thing. So yeah, we call it's dressed up prohibition. It's another form of prohibition. They call this prohibition legalization. And when you see the rules and regulations about it all, it's given them a great opportunity to control the fuck out of something else. All right, you want it legal? Well, here's our terms. And one of them in Ontario is monopolisation of they're going to put 40 weed shops for X amount of million people. Yeah. And 600 yards from a school, etc., etc.
Oh yeah, everyone must go through their evolution in that.
Yeah, no, but it's all good. It's good that it's happening. It can't happen any other way, because if you have a general election in a couple of years and the Conservatives get in, that's another 4 years. That's 2020 something that won't be legal again. And here's the window. Take the window. Get it fucking legal. Not at all costs. Fight for it. But you're never going to get what you actually want, which is utopia, a la Mickey Dangerous with his what?
Oh no,
remember
let's not go there.
Hey, no, but you know nobody else did. He did. He put it on paper. How you know it should be apples and oranges. I can't remember the nitty-gritty. 2 pages, but it laid it out. The cannabis culture of we just need autonomy to get on with what we want to get on with. That's not going to happen. They're going to want every fucking cent they can get out of it.
Yeah, dude, Oaks will move it yet.
We got a post from Nevada where it's just gone legal, and the woman that she's on our page a lot. Don't remember her surname. Her name's Gail. If you're watching Gail, she mentioned that now they're taxing her medicine at 45% for legalization. Whoa. So now she's got to go back to the man. And she hasn't been back to the man for fucking ages. Because they've had a medical program since '97. It's been great. But now they're putting another tax on top of taxing medicine. Jesus, it's just a fucked up place, America.
Oh, yeah.
For you to feel better, you must
45% tax. By the time everyone's taxed the shit, 45% sin tax.
That's what's going to keep the black market floating. That's what we see with cigarettes. Yeah, they say for every out of every 5 cigarettes, 1 is sold, and 1 is declared to SARS, and 4 aren't. Pretty much.
And so millions of cigarettes sold.
They're saying the black cigarette market's bigger than any drug market locally, but It's because of that tax margin. I agree, tax it, but the wider that buffer is, the more room there is for the black market, the more incentive there is.
They're going to get as greedy as they can. They don't actually get it. I don't think they understand how sophisticated the market already is for weed in this country, or Canada for that matter. But it really is sophisticated. We've got systems and controls in place and regional stuff already. We know who's who in the zoo doing whatever they do. We know the geneticists, we know the people who've grown, we kind of have an idea how it's transported around the place, but they don't, because they're not the cannabis culture. So they're just going to try and take over, and we're not going to let them.
Yeah, we're not going to let them, guys.
We're not going to let them. We can't let them. This is the culture that we're fighting for. They can't. And you check, we talked about that as well, back to Canada, sorry, but the chief of police of Toronto, the guy that put people away for 25 years, he's got a fucking license.
Yeah, we spoke about
He's got a medical license, and that is a serious affront. And even people who don't smoke weed can see there's something wrong there. And watch what happens here. There's the same sort of parallels of one, and the licensed producers are somebody's cousin.
Well, that's like Helen Ziller growing weed. All these years of guys, we're getting to the end of the show. I think
boycott it, Cal. Indica Sativa, we love you for sure. Boycott it, Cal. Remember hashtag?
Yeah.
It's on the Fontaine of Cal is on Doctors for Life's farm.
Let's not even touch there.
So fuck all of that. Yeah, no more Cal. Do not buy a Cal. It's been blessed by the devil himself.
Unless you're in Cape Town and really fucking desperate, which I can understand.
Jesus, oh God. I sat watching, 2 days of rain in Joburg, and I sat there stonering around a plot thinking, how could you shift all of this to there? Because we don't need it anymore. This place is soaking wet now for a week, Well, how do we do that? How do you get it just 1,500 k's across this planet?
Airbenders. We can become airbenders.
It weighs so much. It's so bulky, this shit.
We need an app for it.
So now I got to thinking, why don't you dehydrate it and just get it down there as powder? And then you add water. You'd have to add water with it. Up there,
then you screw it.
So
another problem.
Really deep stoner stuff. Right? We could dehydrate that shit.
Too terrible. Okay.
The other thing is, the iceberg came off in Antarctica.
Bring it this way. Tow it to Cape Town.
Lasso that shit and bring it up somehow, and then melt it for showers.
For showers.
I don't know.
Get a big helicopter and drop it on the mountain.
Everyone's going to have to come and chip pieces off into their
I don't know what they're going to do. I'm really glad I don't have that to deal with, because it's a really horrible thing to deal with. I mean, they're down to like 2 litres a day or something.
Yeah, and we know that.
Can't you dig boreholes in Cape Town?
Pardon?
Can't you dig a borehole in Cape Town?
If there's water,
I don't know. I'm not sure how
I don't know if you can. I'm sure you
If you're
can.
in your house,
You know how difficult it is to get a license for a borehole now anywhere, because the priorities is to get boreholes into townships and stuff. And if you want to start boreholing on the plot, it's a little bit difficult now. There's lots of rules and regulations coming in.
Yeah, I think, guys, Cape Town, it's tough for the guys growing plants out there. Not much you can do. Hey, mulch. I think that's the only thing you can do to help retain some of that soil moisture. Dan, any good mulches you would recommend for people? Easy things to do?
Straw bales. They're the easiest. Or even from the felt, I guess you could use felt grass.
Unless you got harvester termites, and then they just chow that shit.
Rather go for straw from like a feedlot. Cover your ground, and also grow cover crops. Use cover crops in the ground. They keep the moisture there so that you don't have to water as much, and they also replenish the soil. So just be
there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work in the garden now. It's really cool on the high felt. Joburg is looking pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's looking excellent.
A lot of
We've
rain.
got a shitload of rain.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great season for the Joburg growers. I think this is
this is the insurance they need now. This is it.
Yeah, not like last year's fucking drought. Ugh. Yeah, we had it last year at Cape Town, but guys, that's it, eh?
Is that it?
That's it.
Another one. Next week we're teenagers.
Teenagers.
It's the 13th episode.
Is that the last one of the year? Or
Probably. We'll do Teenager City next week. Let's get some teenagers. 19. We added it.
So it's cool.
I don't know what we'll do next week.
Great.
No
We'll catch you in the next one.
13, guys.
We'll catch you in the next one.
We'll get to that eventually. I'm going to stop this stream and shit listening. And then, rah. And thank you for the shatter.
Let's get baked.
Let's get back.
HotBox time.
Cool.
Got the mega.
Still live. Can't get it off. It's what?
Let's say something offensive.